The best gangster movies list format started here. The gangster film is one of the most popular in modern movies, and some of the best film directors alive have produced some incredible gangster movies. Because there are so many great gangster films out there, this was a tough list to put together. Nevertheless, I have managed to round up what I consider to be the 10 greatest gangster movies of all time. As usual, if you don't agree with my selections or ordering, post a comment and let us all know. So, without further ado, from good to amazing, here are the top 10 gangster movies of all time. 10. White Heat. Granted, it's an old gangster movie, but it's well worth the inclusion on a list of top gangster movies. Cody Jarrett is the sadistic leader of a ruthless gang of thieves. Afflicted by terrible headaches and fiercely devoted to his ma, Cody is a volatile, violent, and eccentric leader. Cody's top henchman wants to lead the gang and attempts to have an accident happen to Cody while he is running the gang from in jail. But Cody is saved by an undercover cop, who thereby befriends him and infiltrates the gang. Finally, the stage is set for Cody's ultimate betrayal and downfall during a big heist at a chemical plant. 9. Carlito's Way. Carlito has just gotten out of prison due to technicalities with the help of his sleazy lawyer. After a life spent trafficking heroin, he decides not to pursue the life of the streets. He buys into a nightclub and begins saving money to move to the Bahamas, but his presence as a known player makes it inevitable that he gets sucked back into his violent former life. 8. Scarface. An update of the 1932 gangster movie, Scarface follows gangster Tony Montana and his close friend Manny Ray from their trip on the Cuban boat lift for refugees to their arrival in Miami. After killing a powerful Cuban figure, Montana and company gain the ability to leave their refugee camps and roam around the U.S. After unsuccessfully trying to make it legitimately in the country, Montana and Ray resort to selling cocaine to dealers around the world. Tony's rise is quick, but as he becomes more powerful, his enemies and his own paranoia begin to plague his empire. 7. Once Upon a Time in America. This gangster movie is an epic, episodic tale of the lives of a small group of New York City Jewish gangsters spanning over 40 years. Told mostly in flashbacks and flash-forwards, the movie centers on small-time hood David Noodles Aronson and his lifelong partners in crime, Max, Cockeye and Patsy, and their friends from growing up in the rough Jewish neighborhood of New York's Lower East Side in the 1920s, to the last years of Prohibition in the early 1930s. And then to the late 1960s, where an elderly Noodles returns to New York after many years in hiding to look into the past. 6. Do Rafifi Chez les Hommes. Tony Stefanois, just out of prison and angry at his girl Mato's infidelity, decides to join his pals Joe and Mario in an ambitious crime. With Italian safe expert Caesar, they meticulously plan the burglary of a large jewelry establishment. Not a word is spoken as the crime is carried out. And then things begin to go wrong. 5. Pulp Fiction. Jules and Vincent work as hitmen for crime boss Marcellus Wallace in this incredibly unique take on the gangster movie genre. Wallace is currently dealing with Butch College, a boxer who failed to throw a fight after taking Wallace's money and is now planning to flee the city, but can't leave his father's watch behind. Vincent faces some problems of his own when Wallace asks him to show his wife Mia a good time while he's away. Some of these people redeem themselves and some don't, and all meet an end appropriate to their choices. 4. Malgone Do. Sean Yu plays a young police officer who has been sent undercover as a mole in the local mafia. Edison Chen plays a young mafia member who is infiltrating the police force. Years later, their older counterparts, Tony Leung and Andy Lau respectively, race against time to expose the mole within their midst and destroy him. This is the film that led to The Departed. 3. Cidade de Deus. Brazil, 1960s, City of God. The tender trio robs motels and gas trucks. Younger kids watch and learn well, too well. 1970s, Lil Zay has prospered very well and owns the city. He causes violence and fear as he wipes out rival gangs without mercy. His best friend Baney is the only one to keep him on the good side of sanity. Rocket has watched these two gain power for years, and he wants no part of it. Yet he keeps getting swept up in the madness. All he wants to do is take pictures. 1980s, things are out of control between the last two remaining gangs. Will it ever end? Welcome to the City of God. 2. Goodfellas. The lowly, blue-collar side of New York's Italian mafia is explored in this crime biopic of wise guy Henry Hill. As he makes his way from strapping young petty criminal, to big-time thief, to middle-aged cocaine addict and dealer, the film explores in detail the rules and traditions of organized crime. Watching the rise and fall of Hill and his two counterparts, the slick jack-of-all-trades criminal Jimmy Conway and the brutish, intimidating Tommy DeVito, this true story realistically explores the core, blue-collar part of the mob. 1. The Godfather. This was the easiest choice for me. The Godfather has to be #1 gangster movie because it is unparalleled in this genre. Vito Corleone is the aging don of the Corleone Mafia family. His youngest son Michael has returned from World War II just in time to see the wedding of Connie Corleone to Carlo Rizzi. All of Michael's family is involved with the Mafia, but Michael just wants to live a normal life. Drug dealer Virgil Sollozzo is looking for Mafia families to offer him protection in exchange for a profit of the drug money. He approaches Don Corleone about it, but, much against the advice of the Don's lawyer Tom Hagen, the Don is morally against the use of drugs, and turns down the offer. This does not please Sollozzo, who has the Don shot down by some of his hit men. The Don barely survives, which leads his son Michael to begin a violent mob war against Sollozzo and tears the Corleone family apart.